Now, I personally think that we live in a society of addiction. Now, we see addiction as, alcohol and drugs, but it's not only this. Would you agree with me? There is, addiction to videos, addiction to TV. We live in a society that is just made out of addiction to sex, porn, everything. There is so many, cell phone, all of this. So how do you put that into words? What do you see?
How do you reach a balance, you mean?
This is we are living in an addict society all the levels.
Yes. See, this is where, there is no packed answer, but if I were to put it down into the way it actually is, then we have to touch upon the spiritual, which is always missing in our life. We are here for one purpose only, and that is to know who we are. There is no other purpose. I can talk psychology, I can talk this and that, but we go around in circles. Nothing really works until you get to know who you are, really, and that is a fact. Now, the way to understand who you are is that you are a human being. The human is always seeking, always wanting, always desiring, always needing. It's never satisfied, and it keeps on going around in circles, because it's never satisfied. But the key question here is, what is the human seeking? Itself, the being. You see, the human is always a becoming process, is always learning. Why becoming? Because through becoming we improve, we grow, we learn. But are we really learning and becoming? You see, that's the circle, because it's going around and round and round. So what we are seeking primarily is the being, because it is only when we are being that we are happy, that we are fulfilled, that we are comfortable. See, you're not comfortable in a relationship when he fits the bill and he's perfect, or you are perfect. No. You are comfortable in a relationship when you're comfortable with yourself, when you are being yourself. You see, being yourself there's no magic in it. It is simply being. To be. Not being this or being that. No plans, no future, no comparison, no judgment, no agenda. It is allowing yourself to be. This means that you have reached a comfort knowing of who you are. Mm-hmm. See, when you reach a comfortable position, a comfortable knowing that I am. I just am.
So, Burt, what does that tell you, though, about our society? Because, of course, it starts at the personal level, but what does that tell you when you look at, people can't go without a TV. People, this is crazy.
Of course. Because the human is a seeking, it's a wanting, it's a needing. But it's always seeking comfort. It's always seeking love, fulfillment, but it seeks it out there.
So how do we change that?
We don't. We have to learn who it is that is seeking all these things and why. You see? And we are seeking who we really are. The whole experience of life is a search in itself. That's all it is. A search for meaning. But we won't find meaning in $1 million, in TV watching, in sex. Oh, it's temporarily satisfying. But the real meaning is when I find out who I really am, then I have found meaning. And who I really am is not what I thought I was at all. It is much greater.
Mm-hmm. Now, we live in Vancouver. We live in a city where there is, now going back to the personal and society level at the same time, but we live in a place where there is a huge amount of addicts in the downtown east side. We know that there has been the safe injection site open a couple of years ago. Nothing has come to a solution for this.
That's right.
How would you explain this? What would be the step to take in order to...
See, I won't be able to explain it to people who might not understand the psychological, the spiritual factor, but what can be done to help people is to help them to love themselves, to accept who they are more, you see? And the only way to do that, in a particular case, and in any individual case, is to see that there is more than just the things outside of them. Like, for example, when a person is happy, let's talk about that. What do we want? We want to be happy, right? Okay, what is happiness? People never ask that question. Do you know that happiness means doing absolutely nothing? Being you? Absolutely being you. You know, I have a cat called Mushi. That cat never leaves the apartment. He's always here. He's always happy. He's always purring when I approach him. You know, all he does is sleep, eat, and play. And he plays a lot. But you might say he's happy because he doesn't know any better. Because all he knows is simply being. That's what being is. You know, when Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi was asked what is happiness, he says happiness is being. Okay. Now I'm getting back to those people who are addicted.
Yes, well, because I was going to say, what about then perhaps somebody that is very deep in addiction, maybe there's nothing to fix, nothing to heal. Perhaps it is what they are living in this lifetime. And perhaps, you know, there's nothing that to change. We have to, just like the you know, the good and the bad is well, not the good and the bad. I guess I should say more the you know, there is theft, there is all of this that is necessary to bring balance into society.
Right.
Well, perhaps there is a place for these people, and we are to accept it the way it is. What would you say about that?
I think you hit on a very wise statement. If we learn to accept people as they are, that would be the direct way to them to help them overcome their own addiction. Addicted people are not happy people. Why? Because that's what addiction is. Addiction is a searching. It's a need for fulfillment, for meaning. And they're hanging on to something that gives them that meaning, whether it's pornography or addiction or drugs or drinking, it doesn't matter, or food. They want something that's going to make them momentarily feel good with themselves. But what if we help them to feel good about themselves? What if we listen? What if we learn to love or make a space for these people? And primarily what you just said, which is very beautiful, incidentally, I loved it, is to accept them, is to accept what is happening. And the moment we accept what is happening, they begin to feel that they can accept themselves, because they're not as bad as they thought they were. An addicted people always, an addicted person always feels something is missing. I'm not good enough. There is something wrong with me. And when I do this, whatever I do, whether TV watching all day long or drugs or sex, it doesn't matter, then I feel good. And I'm not going to stop it because it's the only thing that gives me some joy, some enjoyment. You see? But when we start to accept and feel just we can be ourselves, that becomes the ending of this addiction.
Also, we tend to, as I mentioned earlier, to see addiction as drugs and alcohol. But what about the person that works 70 hours a week?
Exactly.
What about, you know?
That's
so when we start
workaholism.
seeing that really all of us have some sort of little, you know, addiction.
Yes, that's right.
So you know, perhaps there is
that's right.
There is a learning there.
There is a learning there. Now, if we are addicted to anything at all, so I go back to what we were saying, it means there is some lack in us that we're trying to fulfill. We're seeking for something that's going to make us feel good, because ordinarily we don't feel good, except when we take part in that. But if we find that there is goodness in every moment, if we just relax, allow, accept, and move with it. And the moment we start to relax, the moment we learn to relax, then we begin to find enjoyment even just staring at the sky, or just walking by the water, or just doing nothing. You begin to when you enjoy yourself just being, then addictions begin to drop. But they don't drop by overcoming, through control. I should stop this. There is nothing to stop, there is nothing to overcome, there is nothing to achieve, there is only to go back to being. You see?